Have you ever come home from a vacation and felt like you needed another vacation? I have. Not because the trip wasn't good, not because the destination wasn't beautiful, but because somewhere along the way, travel became exhausting. We fly overnight, we race through airports and check into hotels and then out of hotels, catch trains, make reservations, follow schedules, take photos, and before we know it, we're back home looking at pictures of places we barely had time to experience. I think that's one of the reasons so many travelers are feeling burned out. We've gotten really good at seeing places, but not always experiencing them. And that's what got me thinking about river cruising, not because it's luxurious, although it certainly can be, not because it's trendy, but because it solves a problem that many travelers don't even realize they're carrying. It gives you permission to slow down. And today I want to talk about why slowing down might actually be the greatest luxury in travel. Before we dive in, if you enjoy conversations about meaningful travel experiences and discovering destinations beyond the tourist checklist, I'd love for you to subscribe to Cheryl's Travel Blueprint. Every week, we explore destinations, travel insights, and experiences that help you travel more intentionally and come home with stories worth telling. And if today's conversation sparks ideas for a future adventure, you'll find a link in the description where you can schedule a complimentary travel consultation with me. I'd love to help you explore what's possible and find the travel experience that best matches your goals. Now, let's talk about something that surprised me. The most relaxing way I've ever seen people experience a destination wasn't by train. It wasn't by car and even by plane. It was by river. One of the strangest things about modern travel is that we spend so much effort getting somewhere that we sometimes forget why we wanted to go in the first place. Think about a typical vacation. Maybe you're visiting multiple cities. Every few days you're packing, you're unpacking, checking schedules, finding transportation, and making sure you're not missing the next reservation. And by the end of the trip, you've seen a lot, but did you really absorb any of it? Did you sit long enough in that village square to actually notice how local life unfolds around you? Did you wander without checking Google Maps every 3 minutes? Did you stop long enough to hear the church bells, watch people gather at a cafe, or simply enjoy being somewhere new? Or were you already thinking about the next destination? I don't ask that as criticism. I've done exactly the same thing, and I think most of us have. We tend to assume more destinations equals a better trip. But I'm not convinced that that's true anymore. I think better experiences create better trips, and that's where river cruising enters the conversation. Because instead of constantly moving yourself through a destination, the destination unfolds around you. Your hotel moves, you don't. You unpack once, and from that moment forward, the scenery changes while your room stays exactly where it is. No dragging luggage, no rushing to catch trains, and no wondering if you'll make the next connection. Instead, you're sitting with a cup of coffee, watching vineyards roll past your balcony, or reading a book while castles appear around the next bend in the river. Simply enjoying the luxury of not having to be anywhere at a specific moment. And honestly, that feels increasingly rare these days. One of the things people rarely mention about river cruising is how much time it gives you to think. That sounds simple, but think about how little uninterrupted quiet most of us experience anymore. No rushing. No navigating unfamiliar transportation systems. No wondering whether you're standing on the correct platform. No constantly checking your watch. Just water, countryside, villages, vineyards, and time. Lots of time. I imagine many of us remember road trips as kids, looking out the window, watching the landscape change, and having conversations that seemed to last forever. The journey itself mattered. And river cruising reminds me of that feeling, except instead of highway exits, you're drifting past centuries-old villages, historic castles, ancient temples, wildlife preserves, or wine regions, depending on where in the world you're traveling. The journey becomes part of the memory, not just the destination. And there's another piece of this experience that deserves more attention, the food. Because one of the quickest ways to understand a place is through what people eat. Recipes tell stories. Ingredients tell stories. Even a simple meal can reveal generations of history, geography, migration, and culture. One thing I appreciate about river cruise experiences, including AMA Waterways, is the emphasis on regional cuisine. As a ship moves through a destination, the menus often reflect where you are. The wines, the cheeses, the produce, the spices, the local specialties. You're not eating the same meal every night while floating through different countries. You're experiencing the destination through its flavors. And honestly, Some of my favorite travel memories have happened around a table, not at a famous landmark or during a guided tour, just sharing a meal, trying something new, and learning a little more about culture through what was on the plate. Travel isn't only something we see, it's something we taste. And that's one of the reasons river cruising can feel so immersive. Let me pause here and ask you something. When you think back to your favorite trip, what do you actually remember? Was it the famous landmark or was it the unexpected conversation? Maybe the little restaurant you accidentally discovered or the local guide who shared a story you still remember years later? The view you weren't planning to find, or maybe the moment you felt connected to a place? For me, it's almost always the second category, the human moments, the unscripted ones, the moments where travel stops feeling like tourism and starts feeling personal. If that's the kind of travel that speaks to you, I'd love to invite you to subscribe to this channel. That's exactly what we explore here on Cheryl's Travel Blueprint. And if you'd like to see what river cruising looks like in practice, I've included information about AMA Waterways in the description below. They're one of my preferred river cruise partners and a great example of how thoughtfully designed these experiences can be. Take a look after the episode and see if one of their journeys speaks to you. And if you'd like help determining whether river cruise is right for you or figuring out which destination, itinerary, or sailing best matches your travel style, you can schedule a complimentary travel consultation using the link below. I'd be happy to help you explore the possibilities. And while Europe tends to get most of the attention, when people talk about river cruising, it's far from the only option. You can cruise through the wine regions of Portugal, explore the Mekong River in Southeast Asia, experience the wildlife and landscapes of Southern Africa, journey along Colombia's Magdalena River, or sail the Nile while exploring some of the world's most extraordinary ancient sites. The scenery changes, the cultures change, the cuisine changes, but the experience remains remarkably similar. You slow down and you become more present, and you experience a destination in a way that's difficult to replicate through traditional travel. Now let's talk about what happens when the ship finally docks. Here's the part people don't expect. The ship isn't the star, the destination is. Most river cruise ports place you right in the heart of a city or village. You step off and you're there. No shuttle buses, no hour-long transfers, no giant cruise terminals. You're just immediately immersed in local life. And because these ships are smaller, the experience often feels more personal too. You can spend time with local guides and meet winemakers or visit markers, explore neighborhoods. You can learn regional traditions and walk through places that most travelers would never discover on their own. You aren't simply passing through, you're participating. And I think that's what meaningful travel is really about, not collecting countries, but rather collecting perspective. Even if you only gain a small glimpse into another culture, your return home, seeing the world a little differently than before, is worth it. That's a pretty incredible souvenir, and many river itineraries allow time for exactly that. Not just scheduled excursions, but free time, time to wander and linger, and time to discover and simply be present. And in a world where we're constantly rushing from one thing to the next, that might be one of the greatest luxuries available. So maybe the real question isn't whether river cruising is luxurious. Maybe the real question is this: what would happen if we stopped treating travel like a race? What if we worried less about how many places we could see and spent more time experiencing the places we're already in? Because the older I get, the more I believe that best trips aren't measured by distance. They're measured by connection. Connection to people and culture and to ourselves. Whether that's along the Rhine, the Danube, the Mekong, the Nile, the Magdalena, or the waterways of Southern Africa, the lesson is often the same. Slow down, look around, stay curious, and allow the destination to reveal itself. Maybe that's why this style of travel resonates with so many people. Not because it's luxurious, although it certainly can be. Not because it's exclusive, and not because it's trendy, but because it reminds us that travel was never supposed to be a race. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to subscribe to Cheryl's Travel Blueprint. Every week, we explore destinations, travel strategies, and experiences that help you travel more intentionally and return home with more than just photos. You come home with stories. And if today's conversation has you thinking that's exactly the kind of travel experience I've been looking for, don't let that idea disappear when this video ends. Take the next step. I've included a link in the description where you can explore AMA Waterways itineraries and discover what's possible, from Europe's iconic rivers to extraordinary journeys through Asia, Africa, and South America. Then, when you're ready, schedule a complimentary travel consultation with me. We'll talk about your travel goals, your interests, your budget, and the type of experience you're hoping to create. Whether you're celebrating a milestone, checking off a bucket list destination, Reconnecting with family, traveling with a partner, or simply looking for a different way to see the world, I'll help you find the itinerary that's right for you because the best journeys don't happen by accident. They begin with a conversation. And if you know someone who loves travel, dreams of taking a river cruise, or simply needs a reminder that travel doesn't have to feel rushed, share this episode with them. You might just inspire their next adventure. Thanks for spending part of your day with me. And until next time, travel intentionally, travel curiously, and remember that sometimes the most meaningful journeys happen when you finally give yourself permission to slow down.